Molweni, sanibonani, dumelang, and welcome to Property Market Moves. I am your host, Kululwa Mutwa, and today I am joined by Daniel. How are you?
Blessed, thanks to yourself.
I'm good. So Daniel Kazadi, that's the name. Who's the person behind the name?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Hey? I must say, I'm such a big fan of your work, Cybib's work, Shilly Boy, Patrick, Martin, the whole bang, Mamfundi. And I've been admiring you all from afar. You've all played such a vital role in my life. I'm super grateful for everything. So thank you so much for having me. Honored. And hello to all the viewers. Like you said, my name is Daniel Kazadi.
Yeah.
And preparing for this question was quite an interesting one, and I hope I do it justice. But I'm a 25-year-old property investor that focuses on investing and growing my portfolio within the residential space.
Yeah.
I am a son to two awesome parents and a brother to a couple of siblings. Very much Christian orientated individual.
Okay.
And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Nutshell.
So you studied accounting.
Yes.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
So good question. I was quite confused after my high school. I followed an individual called Sisa Giolana. And while I was in high school, Sisa had just listed Rebosa, so his property fund. So when he had listed it, I just studied, like, what was he doing? Who's this awesome man and such an inspirational character to me? I saw he went into LLB law and then he went into accounting. So I was like, okay, so Cisa's going to accounting.
Then there's something into accounting.
So I then went on to do my undergrad with UJ in accounting. I've not practiced, but yeah, good, amazing 3 years. Going in, I did want to become a chartered accountant and go through the entire journey. But yeah, then God had different plans.
So was that then your introduction to property through observing people like Sisa?
Yeah, definitely. So Sisa played a massive role. I haven't met him, but such a fan of his work. And then my dad gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. After my matric. I did take a gap year, not sure what I was going to do. I went on the internet and I was quite a curious young kid, and I searched seminars in South Africa that were talking property investing. I landed on a 2-hour seminar where I then met the person that became my mentor, Andrew Walker, who was our CEO. And Andrew took me under his wing, taught me property investing, how to finance deals, creatively bring deals together, to do due diligence. And yeah, that's what sparked it for me. Hey?
Okay. And then you chose residential property.
Yes.
Why res for you?
For me, it was before I selected what parts of the industry I wanted to go into, I had a look at the various different options that it provided, from retail to office blocks. I felt residential, the barrier of entry, being quite a young player in the industry, was so significantly lower.
Okay.
And when I studied other individuals in the network, I later realized that residential was almost the exit strategy for all of these big companies if one of these strategies don't work. So if I could make it work in residential, it provided a platform for me to take this to the next level.
Okay. All right. Now, and I mean, we say it loosely that property is an investment, right? Yeah. And millions upon millions of people will have a residential property that they use as their primary residence.
Yes.
And we consider that to be an investment. Is it?
Good question. The household debate, right? In my opinion, I remember when my mom bought her first house, her first residential home. She went through every single room in that house, thanking God, being grateful, getting a sense of belonging, like after going from one property to another. And I don't care what financial advisor you are, she was not going to hear that it's a liability from anyone. So I think there's pros and cons, and there's different ways of viewing it. For some people, they feel if it's not making you cash flow or contributing in a significant way, then it's a liability. For other individuals, it's viewed as an asset because of the many other reasons where you can hand it over to your loved ones upon your passing. And I know when you do a bond application and the bank lists a couple of your assets, they allow you to put your residential home as well. So very good question. Very good question. I'm going to sit on the fence.
So it could be.
could be, depending on views.
Okay.
Depending on views.
And now, how do you convert that, or rather use that, as leverage to start building a residential property portfolio? Can one do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is, call it an asset with a valuation associated to it. And there's something called equity within property. So for instance, the difference between the value of the property versus the amount you owe the bank or any other third party, any liabilities associated to it. For instance, if the value of your property is R1 million, and you have a bond of 400,000 rand, there's something called equity that is sitting in the property of about 600,000 rand. What different institutes allow you to do is you are able to leverage that, and the bank is able to mortgage over that property and give you the 600,000 rand as a loan on the said assets. You do need to prove affordability and prove that you can repay it, but you can do whatever you want with that 600,000 rand. You can travel, you can renovate a property. You can buy another property as well, which is advisable. But that is one of many ways you can utilize your home as a investment tool.
Okay, brilliant. So your mother then was, rightfully placed to actually thank God in every room, because knowing what she could have used that property, to get another property and then tenant that property out. So, I mean, you have an ambition of listing at some point, right? Once you build your portfolio. Why is that important for you?
Very good question. Like I said, I'm very much a student of this game, and I've got different sort of mentors and people I look up to. One of the very first was CISA. I remember in 2011, that's when he took the decision to list Rebosis. It is well documented the issues and everything that did come with it. But I just remember watching a YouTube video where a person that looks like me, talks like me, and he realized his goal to list to go and embark on this ambitious goal that he had to list Rebosis, and what that meant for so many other people in the industry, the inspiration, the stories it brought. So do I need to list? Probably not. The more I do digging, it is a lot of work. There is a lot of things that go into it. But it is an ambitious goal that I do have. And dreaming is free, man. So
absolutely free. Okay, let's dial it back then. Back to the basics. What is the easiest way to start, to get into property investing, especially in the residential space, and start building that portfolio until you get to that point where you have this ambitious dream?
Yeah, I think the big one is I live by certain rules. Amongst them is the more you learn is the more you earn, especially in property. It is extremely, extremely difficult, and there's a lot of mistakes people do when they do embark. But the first thing I highly recommend is educate yourself.
Okay.
Surround yourself with individuals that not only talk of starting this property thing, but are actually in the field and doing it. Joining networks like Cyber, right? Where you're able to interact with these individuals and surround yourself with the different power team members that do play a massive role in taking your journey forward. And I know there is negative connotations on individuals wanting to say pay for mentorship, pay for I mean, it's not going to be, there's different memberships associated with joining groups like Cyber.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that your power team members aren't here to cost you money, they're here to make you money. Yes, there is an entry-level fee, paying your memberships, attending the events, networking with individual. But at the end of the day, what that does for you is you are able to learn not only how these different individuals have made it in property, but the mistakes they've done and how to avoid doing it. So I think the very first thing starts with educating yourself.
Okay.
Once you educate yourself on the different strategies that are available, because there's so many things you can do in property, from flipping property, buying below market value and selling it, to holding long-term properties. And with holding long-term, are you going to do multi-lets? Are you going to do commercial blocks? What is your niche? What could go wrong? Because things do go wrong. And how do you not lose everything once they do go wrong? So I'd say the first step is please educate yourself.
And what I love is that you're not talking about necessarily getting a property qualification, but really just getting information, getting education, following the journey of someone who's actually doing it. And if you are lucky, get close to some of them, through a mentorship, and hear from them firsthand what their journey has been like. And if there was one or two like key things when you look at a property that you want to to acquire and turn into and build a portfolio from that, what would you say that is?
One or two things. Geez. So I'd say definitely I'll build on what I just said with surround yourself with the right power team members. So I remember one development we were doing. It was called, there was this 3 dwellings on this one stand, and we're going to convert it into sort of a complex.
Okay.
And we utilized, we gave out the opportunities to people to quote for the works done. We went the cheapest route with the contractor that we used on smaller projects. I mean, he's never let me down. So, and his fees, everything included, was about 930,000 rand.
Okay.
And we approached someone else, an experienced developer with a track record. He came and quoted us, I think, total project. So it's small for 1.8 million. So
double.
So we went with we're like, thank you, sir. So we went with the cheaper option, and he was in over his head. Everything went wrong. He left asbestos ceilings in the said units. He even fled the construction site. So we're busy with that court case. But where I'm leading towards that is just back on the power of education, because there is a proper way of doing a development, right? Of getting the right individuals, a project manager. It will cost you more money, but like I said, your power team isn't meant to cost you money, but make you money. If I had initially gone with this expensive developer and his team and the project manager and everything, it would cost us 1.8. It ended up costing us, I think, 2.5 million.
Because now you're making up the money that you spent on the runaway contractor.
Oh no, it's actually the bane of my existence. But learned so much lessons from why you need a quantity surveyor and get a bill of quantities and tendering out the opportunity and working on work, paying for work that is done versus work to be done, and having that drawdown with the contractor. So I'd say that's a big one. Please don't trust any contractor.
So the cheapest is not always cheap.
No, the cheapest is not always cheap. And just know that not only are you paying for the work, the body of work done, the experience of the different power team members, but it's almost assurance that all boxes will be ticked. So I'll say, don't penny pinch. Always know that if you want the best result, you need to be okay with getting the right team.
A little bit more. Okay.
Getting the right team,
And I mean, reflecting on that experience, though, it taught you something, right? Because maybe there are things that you didn't know that you would, going into a second development, if those challenges it did not come up, you would not know to look out for those things.
Definitely.
So when you go into your next deal, you're not just going in as an investor, but now you have got lessons because you know what the developer should be paying attention to.
1,000%. You know what? You know how to handle the whole project better. That project definitely aged me, and no one believes I'm 25. I look 40 now with it, but definitely there's so much lessons learned. But I'm a firm believer, as long as if there's no place to cower in this industry, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Trouble are always going to be there. And if you want to be in this industry, just make peace with that and understand that troubles just highlight what weak points you need to address. And they will show you what you're good at and what you're not good at. What you're not good at, seek help and don't run away when issues arise.
Okay. Now you're 25. How early would you say is early enough, or rather old enough, for someone to get into property investment?
I'd say, good question. So it is firstly extremely difficult. So it is firstly extremely difficult. I'd say start educating yourself as early as possible, because the beautiful thing about property is you don't necessarily need to be in property full time to do property. You can be a medical doctor and still grow your portfolio on the side, provided you've got the education, you've got the team. So I'd say as early as possible. We've got we mentor a few young people where they use more creative ways. And Taki, a young man that comes to mind, his story is always inspiring, where he did an installment sale method, so he didn't have the affordability to approach the bank to buy a property, but he educated himself on the Alienation of Land Act that allows you to buy a property over time, right? And he approached someone that was in distress and needed to sell his property that had, I think, 20 units, and he's buying it off, I think, for the purchase price is 1.2 million. Every single month he has to pay a certain contribution, which he uses the rental income of that asset to pay the owner. So I'd say as early as possible, but please start with the education. Please start with the education.
And when you mentor and do training, for these individuals, are there any traits or attitudes or, mindsets that you actually pick up, to see those that will actually go far in this game?
So I think definitely depends as well. Some people come and they just want to buy one property and they're fine with it, right? Or two properties and they're okay with it. With that, that's really fun. There's no set traits, provided they have the affordability and they're able to be creative, we can do it. Other people want to grow portfolios and invest in build a business out of property. For that, I'd say the biggest one is you need to be humble, to know that you will not know everything. Always reach out to help with the different power team members. Always be willing to take risks. I'm a firm believer in do your due diligence, cover all your bases. But when it's time to jump, if you really want to build this out to be a business, when it's time to jump, you need to jump. So I'd say humble individuals, people that are willing to take risks. And I'll say the third one, patience as well. It doesn't happen overnight.
It's a long-term game.
It's a long-term game, and we meet people that have the itch to just buy a property. But one of the best deals ever done are those that you don't do. You're going to be offering a lot on properties, and a lot will not tick all your boxes. They'll not tick the compliance with the municipality, and it's not about cutting corners. So be patient. I'd say is the biggest one as well.
And how long have you been in the game, and are you still learning?
So I started right after my matric. I started educating myself while I was in varsity doing my undergrad. So I was in varsity, I think I just turned 18. So I'd say close to 7 years now. 7 years now. But definitely still learning. Definitely surround myself with people that are doing bigger, better things. And people like Raleigh, with Andrew Walker. I constantly surround myself with individuals that are just rock stars in their own rights, and are shaping our industry, and still learning. I still learn so much. I still learn so much.
So now back to the listing, I guess briefly, what is that for someone who's sitting somewhere, who doesn't even know about property, and now we're talking about, getting into the REITs. What is that?
Yeah, so REITs, geez, it's like the special group of companies within property investing. Then they trade on different stock exchanges. So Johannesburg Stock Exchange, you can be a private REIT or listed REIT. I think valuation of your overall portfolio needs to be at least 300 million, and your loan to value, so the loan you have on your assets cannot be above a certain, I think 50%. So it is like call it the big players, like the Growth Points, the Fukile, and the really Transcend, the really big companies that just list and allow individuals to also buy shares, and they trade on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and they focus on different asset classes. For some REITs, they focus on retails. Others, they focus on office blocks. There's residential REITs as well. So yeah, that's my ultimate goal. Okay.
And now we know that dreaming is for free, right?
For free.
So we are purely dreaming right now.
Yes.
In terms of a timeline, what is that for you? Is it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
More like I'll tell you, 20-year dream. A 20-year dream. By God's grace, 20 years. We listed, and there's bells. We interviewed with JSE, and
that's not bad, eh? At 45.
45, yes. And then I'll retire. No, this game is brutal. Eh? This game is brutal, but good stuff. Eh? It's good.
Okay, and so why mentor? Why do you mentor and do and train upcoming property investors? Why is that important for you?
Actually, at the start, I'm actually very shy in nature. I very much avoid talking to people.
Yeah.
And then one day in a session with Andrew Walker, when we were reviewing I think 2 years ago, we were reviewing all the big wins that we had together, the painful moments, the ups, the downs. And he just mentioned that it would be extremely selfish to not share the stories. Because the same way I entered the space by listening to one interview from CISA and everything he's done, it would be selfish for me to be in a little corner and not tell my story, not tell the big lessons learned and all of these mistakes done.
Yeah.
And then I met my first coaching student was Ntaki, a young man that pursued me everywhere. Hey? Like
really
everywhere. Hey? Every meeting that I'd go into, he'd be there, every viewing, and then anything I do, he goes and does, and then he's like, "Hey Daniel, there's someone that wants to sell their property. He ran the numbers, it's profitable. He did all these checks.
Okay,
what do I do with it?" And then I helped him acquire that asset, and from there it was just I felt a sense of joy, and I played a little role in whatever he wants to accomplish. And that's it. I think that was the start of it, and just helping people better their portfolios, and working with individuals, seeing the growth is quite good. It's quite awesome.
And would you find then that a mentee like that, who is just hungry and is chasing you everywhere you go, probably has a better chance of success than a mentee who's literally just waiting for you to tell them what to do, when and how?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you need to understand that a mentor will not do any work for you.
Yeah.
I made that same mistake when I joined, and you think that they will hand things down on a silver plate for you. That's not it. Not a chance. There's different sort of mentors. There'll be people that you do have contact with every single time, and you can bounce off ideas with when you're struggling with. They're people you won't even talk to. That that just inspire you from afar. I think you need to understand that no one will do any work for you. It's solely based on you, and for you to put the hard work. And God helps those who help themselves, I feel. I think mentors help those who help themselves.
Absolutely. And if we circle back, you touched on, you got into res because it required less capital, than other asset classes. But even that, for someone who doesn't have, it can be daunting.
Extremely.
Can you take us through a few options on how you can actually raise the finance to get in?
No, definitely. I think please educate yourself thoroughly. So anything that I give, please make sure you do your own research, you consult the right individuals. But when raising finances to get started, there's two elements you can go to. There's loans, where you retain your shareholding, right? You retain control and you're going to service a loan. And then there's joint ventures or partnership, giving equity away, right? So bringing on business partners. So what I did is I'm very much, I'm not a psycho. I'd like to think of myself as something better than a psycho. What's a cool way of saying a psycho? I'm obsessed with learning. So I sat down with different, banks. I went to ABSA and just understood, okay, ABSA, how do you finance a company?
Yeah.
It's a newly formed company with no financial statements. Can you finance it? And after doing my research, they said, okay, we can finance it, but we want the director to stand surety. I'm like, okay, so the director needs to stand surety, and they use the affordability of the director to facilitate this.
Yeah.
They said the director, okay, what about the shareholders? They're like, okay, shareholders, it depends on different variety and different things. So I'm like, okay, so I can be a shareholder and get another shareholder to become a director, and they stand surety for the loan. Okay. So that was what I started off with, right? So partnerships, and I'll draw out proposals. I would run around, I'd find the investments. I'll do what I can do. I knew that I could not go to an ABSA, go to a TAF, and they'd lend to me. But I knew that I could package the deal, and if I just network enough, and I find people that I'm in line with, that, and they also looking to invest in property, but they do not have time to view the properties, to do the due diligence, but they do want to be shareholders in this thing. They do want to understand it, and we can build a team together. I knew that could work. So I did a lot of joint ventures. So I'll sit down with a TAF and understand what do you guys look for in the jockey you're backing, and they'll tell me, Daniel, A, B, C, D, E. And then I'd consult with power team members. Shilly Boy, I think he's one of the heads, one of the board members. I'd sit with Intergen and the team, and just they would help me structure it. But all of this requires you to pay as well. Just putting it out there. And so that is one option to go. So partnerships, understand what banks are lending on, just play with the system, understand it, understand why it's out there to protect individuals from being over indebted. That's why ABSA won't give an 18-year-old with no affordability money to buy any assets. But if you surround yourself with the right people, safeguard your risk. That is one way. I spoke of the Alienation of Land Act, which is one of my favorites, because the biggest asset that you have in property, in my opinion, is control. How you controlling property. There's the people that make money. Using money is just one form of controlling an asset to buy it. There's different. There's the rent to rent option. There's the Alienation of Land Act, that an installment sale. You're buying property over time where you don't need the credit score. You don't need the affordability. But those are few options I'd say you can do your research on to understand.
Jeez, that's a lot to take in. And now you said that you are shy, and yet you have networked and you have the courage to go and speak to people and get all this information. How do you balance the two? The shy and the information hungry Daniel.
So I think very early I realized that in life, in business, you can either make money or you can make excuses. So one of my excuses, I fear talking to people. Hey? Like I actually have to prep myself, pray, meditate, make sure I'm fine, because I'm really antisocial. But yeah, I think you need to get out of different comfort zones. For me, it was being shy to even ask for money or approach individuals. It did take time for me to get past that.
Yeah.
And whenever I fear, I remember when I was quite young, I was quite stubborn as a kid as well, so I gave my parents a lot of headaches. We lived in like a flat, and they would subdivided with curtains.
Okay.
Right? There would be multiple families, and I had a friend, I think Joanne.
Yeah.
Joanne was the naughtiest kid ever. So like he tells me, Daniel, let's go watch scary movies. I was like, scary movies playing at midnight when parents are sleeping.
Yeah.
So I go ask my dad, can I watch it? He tells me, Daniel, don't you dare watch it. At night, I go with Joanne. You do
it anyway.
Yes, so we go watch it. And that week I was terrified. Hey? Like I couldn't, it was about monsters behind closets. I couldn't go anywhere. I needed to go to my mom and dad anyway before I go in the bathroom. My dad seeing that, he calls me like, young man, come here. He tells me, Daniel, in life, you're going to be faced with different monsters. You're going to be faced with different monsters behind closets. One way to overcome all those monsters, Daniel, is you go to your knees, you say a little prayer, you summon all the strength you have and open that closet. And then when you do that, you'll realize that there are no monsters and all that exists is fear. And he told me, in life, you're going to face different situations with that. I was quite young. I didn't quite understand it. And when I look back at those lessons, I think that is what helps me a lot. I do get terrified to do stuff. I'm terrified when things don't go right. But
you still open the closet.
All I do is I say a little prayer and I just open. And sometimes the monsters are real. Sometimes that's what my dad didn't tell me. Sometimes those monsters are real.
Like the contractor experience. And that is still haunting you.
Still haunting me. I'm telling you, Mrs. Kulula, my hairline was like peak. Believe me, it's still haunting me. But with that, I think I've been blessed with having the right partners, and transparency comes. That's where transparency comes. We all made the decision. I didn't decide over anyone, and I've been blessed with partners that stick around when things go wrong. And when selecting the perfect partner for your organization, I think it is always good to sell the best case scenario. But also just think about what happens if nothing goes right and there's delays with zonings and you don't get the zoning and what else do you do? I've been blessed with having the best partners that don't run away when things get tough. There's no finger pointing. We do list the lessons, and we're very intentional on learning from those lessons. But moving forward as well.
Okay. And I think this is important to have these conversations, because a lot of the times you will observe, a CISA or another role model, and you only see where they are without really appreciating the journey that took them there, the pitfalls, the failures, the challenges along the way. So people generally will look at, Daniel having arrived, but not Daniel in the journey and the pain that he suffered in the journey.
Especially, definitely. Jesus, I also fell into that trap where you can do this, it's going to work, and
looks
it's going to work.
Looks very glossy.
Glossy and very, I think we maybe do not do it justice by not talking as much about the failures and the moments of doubts. And you wake up, you want to disappear and live a basic life. But there's so much things that do go wrong. There's troubles that come, but it's only through troubles that you're able to grow. Hey?
Yeah.
And even when it's all bleak, one thing that has helped is my Christian orientation, where we live by faith and not by sight. That's helped me tons. And you're going to doubt yourself a lot. Things aren't going to work out. You're going to have a lot of miscalculations. We're human at the end of the day. You can plan as much as possible, but you also need that resilience to make it out.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I think as we get ready to wrap up, there's a question. So what we do is the guest that came before you will leave a question for the next guest. Now, they don't know who you are. And that group that we're engaging, we're talking about, boards, right? Women on boards. So the question might be coming from that angle, but we'll still ask you the question nonetheless.
Okay.
Why do you think it is important to have diversity in the boardroom?
Why do I think it is important? I feel we make decisions. We all make decisions based on various factors, from key beliefs to experience, to strategy. I think having diversity just allows different minds to see things differently, because perspective is everything. Hey, I think I'm reminded of a story. We were once in a meeting. Memory serves me well, and with one of our partners, APSA, and we're talking about the next 12 months and what we're looking to accomplish together in this partnership. And we were so focused on the financial aspects of things and certain KPIs we look to hit with the partnership. And we in the meeting present is a young lady called Kali. I think you met her at the SAPIN Women event. Quite bubbly, quite interesting character, energy for those. Kali then mentions, I think we so fixated on just hitting different KPIs and being thought leaders. What about actually making different impacts with regards to the community that we're in? And just by that, I think we then hosted an event together with APSA where school fees were given out to people that were looking to further their studies, and what that meant to different individuals was quite priceless. But just to wrap up in saying, everyone has a different view, and different views does not mean there's hatred. Different views should be welcomed, and different diversities comes with different levels of geniuses. And that's my opinion. Hey, what is important?
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I hope you stayed with us right through to the end, because I got a lot of information, education, and inspiration, and I believe that you did as well. That was our conversation with Daniel Kazadi on property investment. And this is Property Market Moves. Now do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Share it with your community so that you do not learn alone, you do not grow alone. Whatever stage of your property career or journey, this should be able to guide you and give you some information. Thank you. Until next time. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for having me once more.